this video, I'm going to show you guys why semen retention will make your presence magnetic. You will be the unspoken alpha. The number one reason why semen retention makes your presence magnetic and you will be the unspoken alpha is because you're finally okay with yourself. You're finally feeling better about yourself. And because you're feeling better about yourself, this is going to portray in your openness to engage in conversation, body language, your retort, your ability to speak, basically how you feel, and basically not being afraid of pretty much anything. This is what you kind of have to realize. Now, when you are on PMO, when you're on the sites, when you're on Instagram, watching what is happening, usually what happens when you go on the sites and you consistently watch it, what you're actually doing is you're creating fear in your mind. You're creating, if you don't realize this, because there's more that's going on in your brain when you're on the hub and things like that, and when you're just doing these things. What's actually happening is you're casting out fear in your life. You can start to realize, I noticed this easily. The guys who defend fapping, PMO, masturbation, PMO, if you're a guy and you're like defending this, because there's some people who defend these activities because there's just it's based off their dopamine. They're getting so much dopamine from it that they find it offensive if you're saying that's the wrong thing to do, because they have become so comfortable with it. Their lack of an action taking to get real women on the outside, because they've fallen so far from reality, that if you tell them that they're doing something wrong, they become super defensive. And they think it's helping them out. What is actually happening is because they have become so dependent on cheap dopamine, easily accessible instant gratification, that if you're telling them that this is not the right way to go about getting your fix, quote unquote, then they become defensive and they shun you out. They don't think it's all this real. Imagine being someone who lacks the attention from the opposite species and is lacking in some aspects of his life, but being dependent on cheap dopamine to get him through his life. They use it as a cope mechanism. This is what they usually do. Instead of trying to work on yourself and better yourself, guys take themselves out of the game before they were even in the game. This is what you have to realize. So I'm gonna stick to the topic. But the bottom line is, the reason why your presence becomes magnetic is because you're feeling more confident about yourself, and now you have the ability to speak your mind in more of a sense. You have to start practicing in terms of becoming a social person. Just start practicing step by step, being more interactive with people in general. Maybe it's the cashier or the janitor or someone you're in the elevator with, or anybody you come across, or at least nodding and smiling at people. Start small and then start opening yourself up. I promise you, because I'm practicing what I preach. I have realized that it's easier to talk to people in general. People like you when you humanize interactions. It's easy when you're a laid-back dude who knows how to conversate, small talk, make people feel good, listen to people, ask them questions, make them being a good conversationalist. They're gonna like you more. They're gonna go out the way to do things for you. I've realized this. I've tested this out where I was on the elevator a couple times in the past couple weeks, and I was just studying body language, and I realized that when you talk to, for an example, if you're talking to a woman that you haven't met before, you're just opening up, talking to her casually, casual conversation. The next time if you see that person again, twice, they're definitely going to be more interested in you. They're going to maybe go out their way to try to start another conversation with you. It's going to be an easy interaction. And I've seen this in real life. A lot of what the other content creators are starting to really don't put in their content as much, because they're talking about all the physical things that you as a man must become. And sure, this is good, but they're not talking about the emotional stimulation that you have to pretty much give certain women for them to really be interested in you. There's guys who are not even they're not so-called the Chad per se. They don't have those looks that these guys are making it seem like you need in order to get with a girl. They don't have those looks, but somehow they're still with women. They're still interacting with women. They're still having romantic relationships with women. But how is this the case? Because their logic, they're saying that you have to be this stud, quote unquote, to be able to actually attract anybody in general nowadays. And that can help, but the bottom line is, and every woman is every person is different, but usually it's like you still have to be able to have a conversation and make the woman feel good based off the words that you're speaking. This is the number one thing that they don't talk to you about. You have to be able to have a conversation that intrigues people, that makes them feel good and makes them want to be around you more. But why are they not talking about this? They're talking about all these stats that you have to be, the looks, money, status, all these things. Sure, that's its own category, but that's not necessarily going to just make someone interested in you. Might get your foot in the door. That's good front end game, but in terms of carrying a conversation from point A to point B to where you want it to be, you're gonna need to have verbal game. You're gonna need to be able to speak to a person, in this case a woman, and make her feel a bit more intrigued to want to know more about you. These are the skills that you have to pick up. I was with a guy this past weekend. We hung out this past weekend. He was talking to some girls, and he just said something. He was like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" or something like that. And the girls walked straight by him, didn't even give him the night of day. And then I told him, like, bro, it's like, just because you said those words doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to want to stop and talk to you. It's based off how you said it. If he would have said it with a little bit more conviction, with a little more of a louder voice, and he would have actually enunciated his words where he was asking a question per se, his voice inflection where he was saying like, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" And he actually put it in a way where it was a question that was anybody could actually answer, and they could just say something to at least get his foot in the door. That would have gone a lot better than just saying a very monotone, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" and then not getting any reception. You have to raise your voice, and you have to be able to speak in a way where people can answer back. They have to hear you. They have to react towards what you say. These are all the small things that they leave out. Social dynamic skills, these skills that you actually need in order to talk to people and make them feel comfortable around you. This is everything that they're missing. They never talk about these things. They just talk about how you physically look, all these different things. They say that you need when you go on social media, you need 4 steps in order to get a woman to be able to give her a number. And usually, sometimes it's going to take a bit more than this. Sometimes they have to feel comfortable enough to actually want to do things with you. This is what they leave out. So the bottom line is you're going to be more magnetic. You're going to have better presence in your life because you actually feel better about yourself, and now you can demonstrate alpha male qualities based off your non-neediness, and you're just very open and happy with your life. These are the things that they leave out. These are the things that you have to practice. These are all practice. And what I'm saying, in order for you to practice this so you're more comfortable with maybe even talking to a girl that you may like, is talking to everybody that you come across, and you have to be the first to humanize interactions. Start as small as it. Maybe if you don't want to start talking to strangers, just give eye contact to maybe some people that you're walking by and smile. And then the next day, just compliment what they're wearing or something like that. And just keep adding until you're very comfortable. This is how you have to. But if you're fapping 24/7, it's just going to be harder to do this because you don't have that, you don't have that aggression. Aggression equals confidence. When it comes down to it, when you're a little bit more aggressive, that correlates to being more confident because you have this sort of protection about you. If that makes sense. If you want to learn more about becoming the man that can captivate a crowd, become more motivated, more fulfilled in your own life, and so this body language can demonstrate itself in social interactions, click on the link in the description down below. Check out the high value blueprint end-to-end presentation I have put together, and we will see you in the next one.